She waited for 15 minutes after the sliver of light beneath her bedroom door disappeared. Once she was sure her parents were asleep, Kelly slid the window up and stole down the trellis. The autumnal air swished down into her lungs, crisp, chilly, and delicious. She landed like a cat, crouched, hands on the floor. Kelly didn't need to jump the last of the way to the ground, but where would the fun be in not doing that? Her 10-speed leaned next to the bins, where she'd left it. With a glance up at the droopy eyes of the house, she hopped on her bike and cycled off into the night. After half a minute, she clicked her torch on and plopped it into the basket. The beam sliced through the evening's ink. The streets were empty at this time of night, save for the high school kids. They drove around, windows obscured with pot smoke, beers in one hand, steering wheels in the other. Kelly didn't bother to hide from these, but she did take caution to avoid collisions. If only her father, who grumbled about their poor driving skills, could see them now. It didn't take her long to reach Moco's house. Google Maps told her it was an 11-minute journey, but she always raced to beat the time. She usually made it in 7 minutes or less. Not that she had her phone with her now. Her parents had installed a tracking app a few months back. Kelly left the blasted thing plugged in on her nightstand. Should they check in the morning, it'd seem she'd slept the night through. It never occurred to them that their modern child would leave the house without it. As far as they were aware, they'd succeeded in their attempts to curb their daughter's nighttime excursions. She flashed her light at Moco's window. On, off. On, off. On, off. First, nothing. Then, the curtains stirred and the window clunked open. Kelly caught wind of a sigh. The voice that whispered down to her was thick with drowsiness. I thought you were joking about tonight, Kelly. I never joke about a hunt. Besides, your mom's working the night shift. Tonight, is she not? Moco groaned. Can't we just sleep? I'm tired. Kelly shone the light across Moco's form. Evil never sleeps, Moco. Kelly grinned. Moco had not yet gotten into her pink pajamas. Mr. Adam has been found dead in his home. Really? Oh God. Fine, just get that light out of my face, will ya? I'll be down in a moment. Kelly clicked the torch off and waited. After a spell, the front door of the Browns' house opened and closed. Moco wrapped her cardigan around her and shivered. Mr. Adam is dead? And a good evening to you too, my fellow protector. Kelly? Well, not dead. Moco threw her head back and growled. You always do this. But he did say that a bat tried to enter his home last night. A specter of the macabre, I've no doubt. We should ensure the foul beast does not find any more prey. Moco watched her breath float away. Why'd we have to go out again this week, Kelly? We went out on Sunday. Kelly sniffed the air. Darkness lurks these streets, Lise. I can smell it. All I can smell is your bull. Kelly silenced her with an upraised hand. Quickly. My senses are tingling. We must head off the leech before he leaves his enclosure. Moco's shoulders slumped. Fine, but no more than an hour, yeah? It's a school night. Kelly nodded, hand over her heart. Scout's honor. You got the steak? Moco rolled her eyes. Yes, Mom. She patted her rucksack. Don't know why I've gotta be the one to store all this crap. If I get caught with it, people will think I'm a loony. 'Cause your mom doesn't search your room, Lise. Now, hop on. Moco did as Kelly told her, but grumbled as she did so. Maybe there's a reason your parents search your room, Kelly. You're mental. If being labeled mental is the price I have to pay to ensure the safety of the citizens of Bridge Moss, Kelly said as she began to pedal with a grunt, then so be it. Moco took a deep breath. You gotta grow up at some point, Kelly. We'll be in high school next year. We don't want to be labeled as the weird girls. Those chicks never get dates. And still you doubt my gifts. You should have learned by now that this world is darker and more mysterious than the grown-ups would have you believe. So you keep saying. Do you not remember the wolf of St. Wisney's? That was a stray dog. But did we not help the pound in catching a most evasive beast? Yeah, all right. I'll agree we did some good there. We helped a homeless dog find shelter. I think Katie's family adopted him. And of the ghosts of West Woodbridge? You mean the broken wind chimes that Mrs. Andrews had in her porch? That sounded like wailing? And did we not put an end to such ghastly choruses? We stole them, fixed them, then hung them up again. Kelly sighed. Another citizen protected. Moco chuckled. Absolutely mental. So, where is it we're heading tonight? I don't want to go trudging through dirty streams full of broken glass and needles again. My mum'll kill me if I wreck another pair of trainers. Tonight, my fellow protector, we must head the destroyer off before he even leaves his lair. Oh Jesus. I hate the cemetery. A thick mist clung to the ground. It seemed to seep from the very pores of the earth itself and offered the place a pale illumination. The tombstones pointed this way and that, drunkards who leaned against doorframes. The only sounds were their own ragged breaths and their footsteps as they squelched in the mud. I don't like this, Kelly. It's creepy. But have we not sworn an oath to brave the creeps of this world? An oath that you made up. An oath is an oath, my fellow guardian. Aren't all oaths made up, at some point or another? At what point do they start to mean something? Moco hesitated. Fair enough. But I still don't like this. Kelly turned to face her, a toothy grin on her face. So you admit that there is something out here tonight? You feel it too. She clenched a fist. I knew under my tutelage you'd soon hone your senses. Moco pulled her cardigan ever higher around her chest, any further, and she'd risk ripping the damn thing. I don't know. But I know that if we get stabbed and mugged, my mom'll be more pissed than upset. At first, anyway. We need not worry about being impaled by the drinker of life, it is he who should worry about us doing so to him. Moco frowned. Sometimes, Kelly, you get so wrapped up in your theatrics that you make no goddamn sense. Kelly shrugged. We gone stab the vampire. Much better. But still, can we go home? This is creepy. And I legit don't want to get hurt. Kelly pointed forward with the stake. Hush now. The moss-covered stones, features softened by the weather, gave way to the maze of the vaults. We draw near to the crypts, my sweet, poor, innocent Moco. Narrow structures with ancient doors, each one of a different design. Pointed roofs adorned with all manner of crucifixes. Steps led up or down to the entrances, all smothered in decayed leaves, wet with moisture. Thin, barely passable alleys wove between the stone tombs. The way ahead was impossible to see. Oh, I hate this place, said Moco. Her voice rustled like the leaves beneath their feet. Low, quiet. Fear not, young Padawan, for I am here to guide you through tonight's gauntlet. Moco stopped a few steps short of the labyrinth. 10 minutes. That's all you get, Kelly. 10 minutes, and then we're back out and heading home. Deal? But we only just got here. Kelly, this is insane. I want to be back at home. In bed. With a hot chocolate. And a good book. Kelly lamented. All right, Lise. But if the winged bringer of doom takes another life, Mr. Adam is still alive and kicking. Takes a life, then that blood shall be on our hands. Moco eyed the first row sepulchres and chewed her lip. 10 minutes, Kelly. Kelly thrust the stake forward. To the lair of der Vampire. Okay, Kelly. You've had 13 minutes. An evil number, if I ever heard one. Let's stay another minute. They were deep in the crypts, had walked non-stop, ears pricked, eyes peeled. They'd not found anything out of place, much to Moco's prediction, and to Kelly's chagrin. Kelly. Moco's voice hardened. It startled Kelly. It was the type of tone her mother would use on her. They weren't little kids anymore, and her heart ached to see her childhood now in the rearview mirror. All right, let's go. Here. She handed Moco the steak. For safekeeping. Next time, you get to pick what we do. Moco smiled. Thanks, Kelly. But no chick flicks. No 80s horror movies that. Moco's eyes darted to the point over Kelly's shoulder. She frowned. Kelly snatched the steak from Moco's hands and twisted around. En garde. But there was no denizen of the night there. Only the faded stone of an ancient crypt. With the door open ajar. A foul breath gasped through the crack. Aha! The beast has not hidden his abode well, Kelly said, voice a whisper. She gripped the steak tighter, knuckles white, teeth visible in her moonlit grin. SHH. Kelly, this is serious. Moco put a hand on her shoulder before she could take a step. There could be grave robbers or anyone down there. I take my hunting very seriously, thank you, dear guardian. Kelly pulled away and strode towards the black door. And if they disturb the slumber of the beast, it could spell doom for us all. An archway curled around the edges of the door, with slots for lanterns. Above and either side. The lanterns were present, but their innards were devoid of flame. Kelly paused at the foot of the steps, which ascended to the door. She read the name carved into the stone above the archway. Capella, she said in awe, and here we were thinking that the vamp was a man. Kelly tooted and shook her head. She looked at Moco. Not very progressive of us, was it? We're not actually going down there. Are we? 'Cause that's trespassing. We could get arrested. We'd be doing the local law enforcement fools a favor, ridding them of one more vermin. I don't think that's how they'd see it, Kelly. And I don't want to get a criminal record before I'm halfway through my teens. My mom'll make me wish I got stabbed by junkies if that happens. Just a quick peek, Lise. Kelly offered her the puppy dog eyes. Please. No. I'm not going down there. Kelly smiled at her. A smile that Moco knew all too well. I'll be down just for a sec, Lise. You stay here. No, Kelly, wait, but Kelly had already leapt up the steps and was at the door. Moco loosed a noise of exasperation and then followed her friend. I swear you're going to get me killed. The wet leaves squelched and squidged beneath her converse. You don't have to join me, you know. Kelly had one hand on the door, the other held the stake in a Rambo-esque pose. I can defend Bridgemoss by my lonesome. Because somebody's gotta make sure you don't get yourself killed. Kelly nodded. Very wise. Who defends the defender? She pushed the door open. It squalled on its hinges, loud and rusty. Moco grunted. She was about to say that the only thing Kelly defended anyone from was a night of peaceful sleep. But then a noise from the depths. Froze the words in her throat. The scrape of stone. Followed by a thud. A sandpaper groan. There was actually somebody down there. Kelly, Moco licked her lips. Kelly, we should leave. Moco's eyes were wide and wild. I don't like this, not one bit. Kelly remained a statue, one hand on the door, which was now 2/3 of the way open. Her heart bounced from side to side in her ribcage. She reaffirmed her grip on the stake. She cleared her throat. I think there's something in there. Like, something actually in there. Yeah? No, sure. Kelly raised a finger to her friend's lips. SHH. Her eyes darted back and forth, and she squinted. I'm listening. Kelly, let's call the cops and get out of here. Moco shuffled and pulled her phone out of her pocket. She swore. Dead. This thing never holds its charge anymore. Lend me yours, Kelly. A hiccup in the rhythmic thump-thump-thump of her heart. I left it at home. You what? Mom and Dad keep trying to track my movements. So I left it. Oh Jesus, Kelly. Let's go. Let's go now. Shush, I said. I can hear something. Moco bit her tongue and held her breath. I don't there. A thud. A thump. The unmistakable sound of footsteps on stone. Kelly turned to face Moco. Her gut plummeted into the ground. It's coming this way. The color drained from Moco's face. A small squeak escaped her pressed-together lips. Kelly grabbed her friend by the shoulders. We've got to hide, Lise. Moco nodded and glanced around, a frightened rabbit in headlights. Where, Kelly? Where? Behind the crypt, come on. Kelly had to all but drag Moco with her, further into the stone maze of the cemetery's lifeless heart. They went past 1, 2, 3 rows of vaults, and then hooked to the side. Kelly hunkered down and pulled Moco down into a crouch, the eddies of fog now as high as their chests. To dip into that grayness was to plunge into ice. She pressed her finger to her lips and nodded. SHH. She braced against the rear of a tomb for balance and listened. Nothing. No thumps, thuds, slaps, taps, groans or growls. All was silent. Somewhere, an insect chirped. A bird cried out, and Moco let out a little squeal. Kelly reached out and squeezed her hand. They waited. Kelly counted to a minute twice, and still, there was nothing. Hey, Lise, you still with me? The other girl nodded. I think a hoarse moan rent the air, sliced her sentence in half. Moco's eyes bulged out of their sockets, and she clamped her hands over her mouth. Gooseflesh prickled up all over Kelly's body. You need to get out of here. Moco nodded. I'm gonna go see what it is. Moco gripped Kelly's forearm in a claw, her nails dug into the skin. Are you crazy? This isn't a game, Kelly, not anymore. Let's just get the hell out of this place and pretend nothing ever happened, Kay? But there is something there. Kelly's eyes darkened as she broke free of Moco's grip and stood up. She clutched the stake to her chest. And I'm gonna find out what it is. Are you insane? We need to go. Kelly cast her eyes down to the ground. I can't, she whispered. We'll be in high school next year, and these hunts. Something swelled within her chest. This year will be the last year we can do this. Properly. I don't want to give it up, Lise. Not just yet. I'm not going to convince you to leave, am I? The defeat in Moco's voice was tangible, but intermingled with it was something else. Pity? Love? She shook her head and said nothing. But you can go. Really? She nodded further into the crypts. If you keep going, you'll eventually come to the other side. The fence there isn't too high, you should be able to climb it. Fairly easily. You can head home if you want. I'll be fine. I'll catch up with you tomorrow. Moco glanced in the direction Kelly had directed. She hesitated for a moment, seemed to mull it over. She shook her head. No way in hell I'm leaving you here alone. She got to her feet, with some difficulty, due to how much she shook. We're the Bridgemoss Guardians, she pulled a crucifix from her bag, and we do things together. They waited for 15 minutes until the figures had shuffled on by, hearts lodged in throats. The girls never got a good look at them, but it didn't matter, their imaginations filled in the blanks. Once they were sure the horde had passed them, the pair made a break for the cemetery fence. Together, they scrambled up the wrought iron as laughter bubbled within them. Moco had not felt this giddy in years. Adrenaline coursed through her veins. God, she felt so alive. As they stole down the other side of the fence, the midnight air rushed down her throat, sweet and cool. She and Kelly landed in synchronism, on all fours, as was the most fun way to do it. She cast one last glance at the cemetery before they sped off on Kelly's 10 speed. Shadows and mysteries lurked in every crevice, nook and cranny. Excitement. Wonder. Magic. Who'd want to give that up? In exchange for drab adulthood? We coming back tomorrow? Moco had to shout over the sound of the screaming wind. Oh hell yeah! She could hear the smile in Kelly's voice. But we're gonna need something more than steaks. I think those back there were zombies. Kelly laughed as she pedaled with fury, and the wind whipped their hair. You're learning fast, my protege. Bridge Moss Guardians away.